It says I'm live. Okay. You know, I had done an unboxing video yesterday, and I decided to take it down because as I scrubbed through the finished product, I suspected that I had, and then it turned out to be true, that I, in my haste, had forgotten to, tape off addresses and things like that on the box. I got to get better at that. So to the two people who are watching and commenting, I apologize that you will not be immortalized in YouTube, in the YouTube afterlife. So I decided to just unbox everything, get rid of the cardboard, and actually see what I had, because I got so much stuff in the past couple of days that has literally been hard to keep track of it all. And I'm not bragging. I probably spent way too much money on indie comics, and now I'm going to be spending the next couple of paychecks paying that debt down as I pay off bills and stuff like that. I am not unhappy that I've taken this time to invest in independent comic books, but I wanted to talk about two of them, and I'm not really sure exactly which one I should do first. I'm just going to bring them in right here. So we've got Death and we've got Immortal. I kind of figured that juxtaposition might be a little kitschy for the title. This Tier 1 Comics. I've talked to this cat a couple of times. I really like the cut of his jib. He's a good guy. He's very passionate about this product. Spent some time in the sandbox and has, either before that or during, has gained an appreciation for the culture of. I'm going to see if I can just real quick here on my phone here. I want to see if I can catch anybody that happens to show up to watch this, because yesterday I was trying to follow chats, and it was not that easy because I remembered I had to turn my head to the left and look across the room. Trying to follow chats, and it was not that easy because I remembered I had to turn my head to the left and look across the room. There we go. All right. At any rate, the tier that I opted for, I wanted to have a piece of art to go with it. I do like this mask. In fact, while I was going through this stuff yesterday trying to separate my goodies, I was throwing this in the wrong box with this stuff because for some reason I was seeing a similarity in design. Upon closer inspection, in fact, the entire thing about yesterday was that I needed to slow down. Now, I'm not comparing these two against each other to lift one up or put one down, but just to talk about the difference between and why. I know some people will support the books that it's like my writer says, and I totally understand where he's coming from, and it's as a matter of cost, I might end up doing the same thing. I'm going to have to be more picky and more choosy, because there are the guys that I want to support because I believe in the project that they're doing. The same way that you might grab an early garage version or a demo tape of a band that is going to take off and be amazing, versus some music that has already been produced in the studio and sounds Donald Fagen good. Because we all have the ability to find printers and writers and artists, it's not stopping any of us from taking a first or second step or a third step. And I find it I like seeing, like, if I find put it this way, if I find a director who's doing stuff and he's like 10 years into his career before I've ever noticed him, I'm going to want to go back and see some of the early stuff. I went back to watch Polytechnic, which was Denis Villeneuve's one of his early movies, and that was after still haven't seen Prisoners. I'm told it's awesome, but but I've seen his other stuff that I really like, and it made me want to go back and see this black and white effort that he did. And when I look at the Immortal Asadi, I'm judging this by the potential that I see. I know these are not easy to put together, so when I'm talking about this book, I want everybody to understand that I am completely and totally and fully aware that I am still just struggling to get through my layouts, let alone draw or get into a print file or any of that stuff. And so it is with a sense of complete and total humility. I am very happy for Tier 1 that this book got put together, because that means there's going to be a second one. The chances that there's going to be a second one and a third one, and we get to see the growth of this property. I said the same thing about Agent Poso, even though I believe there might have been more money behind producing that book, and I still and I'm going to want to go through it again in context of the other books that I read, because I was under the impression, I think Comic Book had said the same thing, that it didn't seem like it knew what it wanted to be. That's not the case with this book. The Immortal Asadi knows what it wants to be. He's leaving room for fans and friends to add art. I know there's music involved, that there's a music video. This artist put some music together that has to do with this book and this character. That's not something that you find with every campaign. I like, and again, this is going to be, a lot of this has to do with a matter of potential. I'm never going to open someone's independent comic book and poo-poo it because there's something in there that I don't like, or there isn't something in there that I think should be in there. Because with a lot of these creators, I think there's, and especially for the mature ones who are doing this for the first time, that they understand the difference between critique and just an outright like waylaying of just like bad press and being a total asshole. Again, this book's finished. There's a lot of books that are out there that have not been yet. They get totally waylaid on social media for being late when there's a ton of other stuff going on, and many people don't understand the context of what's going on in anyone's specific personal or business life. But I talked to this cat before this job was done, and it got done, it got printed, it got sent out. I was happy to give him my money. I'm also studying these things. This is our guy right here. Okay. I'm also studying these things because in a very friendly, competitive sense, I want to know what I'm up against. The amateurs, the pros, the people in between. That he's very passionate about this story, and that's one of the reasons why I got this book. There are, what I will say is, when I look at the art in this book, I see what I can only describe as inconsistencies. And again, and I don't mean that in a bad way. There are really good shots. I love this here. There's a lot of good expression. But then I might see other lapses in what would you go, like lapses in what might be considered to be good composition. The color work is what it is. I would have liked to see some better separation between what is a flesh color and what is the color of the sand. This is the desert. That doesn't look super bright to me. A lot of when I think back to the sand that I'd seen in movies, geez, name any of them. What's the one that's like Stargate? The sky is brighter, the sand is brighter, and the people are contrasted against that a little bit more. I don't want to show a ton of what's going on in the book because I don't want to give anything away. But let's see. yeah, like these colors here, okay? And again, this is something that I struggle with myself. In fact, I'll bring out one, I'll bring out something. This is bad color choices for me. I do some pinstripe work. This little panel right here, if I had to do this over again, I would have started with something on a brighter, cooler side of the spectrum to give me some contrast against the red and the black that's in the background, okay? Don't worry about any other aspect of it. That's just what I'm thinking. The green that's here is not super bright against the sky that's dark. The brightest spot that I can see right here is this sand in the background. And again, these are things that I'm not just looking at this because I want to, you know, poo-poo somebody else's work, but this is also going to help me whenever I go to do mine. I'm going to remember certain things that I don't like and certain things that I do like about it, like this action and these motion lines here. I really, this works. This is a, you know, slide to the side and fuck, haha, you missed me. The creature design is good, and I can't say as to is there any originality to it, because this might be the artist trying to be as accurate to what is described in this myth, because I know that the writer is trying to be as respectful to the culture where these stories come from as possible, and I super dig that. Okay, let's get another page out here. Again, I don't want to give everything away. Okay. Now this is something else that I need to keep in mind too. There's, you know, panel layout and page layouts, making sure that certain characters where they look where they're distinguishable from each other. Here we've got armor versus cloth, hats versus no hat, and if I'm not mistaken, these are related characters, so they are supposed to look alike. So good job there. There's a heavy use of Photoshop textures, which I understand to give some realism why you want to do that. This is something that I might think about for myself. If my book actually goes to color, will I do that? I'm not sure. But it is, you know, it's sand. Although where this floor is supposed to be in perspective, it looks like the texture itself is not. And if I was to rack my brain right now, I'm not sure how I would be able to do that. But yes, I want to move past a couple of pages to get to one of the parts that I really like is this. How trippy is that? Now, is there any? I could tell you absolutely nothing else about this scene, and you would say to me, well, you know, Crisis, it looks like this guy's in the middle of a fever dream. And you'd be half right. I don't know that he had a fever. Okay, but the way that these colors move back and forth, I love this as a smart use of color. Green flesh, blue flesh, changing flesh over here, and it's very colorful, and there's nothing really blending into itself. In fact, the way this color right here is laid out against this cool purple and this warmness down here and warmness here is really great contrast against this coolness and this coolness and this coolness and the green and the blue. You know, this guy really stands out against this background. So, and I've done this myself, where, you know, you get finished with a picture and you look at it and you're like, I am not really sure exactly how I pulled that off, and I really like what I'm looking at, and I don't know why. Okay, but there's cool fan art here in the end. It's on good stock. I am becoming more and more a fan of the flat of this. I do a lot of custom paint work, and Harley puts out a finish called a denim finish. That's what this reminds me of. This flat finish. We're glossy on the inside, flat on the outside. I love that it's. I don't actually have anything signed by anybody except independent comic book artists. And my extra piece right there, and it comes with a sticker. Okay, and when I'm looking at this, I am looking at issue 1 of a book that somebody who's I'm pretty sure I'm correct in saying this. If I'm not, then I apologize. First issue of a comic book of someone who's never made a comic book before, and I think it's great. Okay, I think it's great on a lot of actual levels and a lot of potential levels. I'm going to be very excited to see what issue 2 looks like, because look, let's face it, I might be looking at this thing and seeing where it could go. Okay, I would be an absolute fool, and anybody else would be an absolute fool to think that the people that the team that wrote this, colored this, and inked this isn't also looking at this book wondering how they might be able to make it look better. No true artist who is passionate about their work is not, they're not doing that more than I am. You know, I'm kind of like looking in there and going like, if I was this guy and I was looking at this objectively, like where you want to try to, critique your own work and look outside as objectively and say, this within the surrounding work that I've seen, I might want to achieve something here or learn how to do this better. And I've got no doubt in my mind that that is going to be the case with this. I'm looking forward. I am looking forward to issue 2. They're going to get my money for sure. The next one I got, and where the contrast is, Russ Leach, Only Death Can Save Us. Now, Russ Leach, okay, full disclaimer, I was out of comic books for so long, it's not even funny. Comic books were not something that was actually allowed in the house. So when I moved out of my house at 18, I was literally taking instruction from the person who owned the comic book shop that I used to go to in Buffalo, Emil at Queen City Comics. And he said, "Hey, how old are you?" And I was like, 17. He's like, "Well, when you're 18, you can move out. You can make your own decisions." I'm not going to get deep into it. It's a whole other story, but we're talking about a household that was brain deep in the satanic panic, and it was very hard to get into any music, popular culture, comic books, or anything like that. But I never got away from wanting to draw and do artwork and things like that. It just ended up going into a different direction. And now I'm trying to steer myself back. And that's one of the reasons why I am so into the independent comic book scene, and especially CG, because there is not just it's very much an Ayn Rand, who's going to, where the question is not who's going to let me, the question is who's going to stop me. And I totally dig that. We're going to do what we want. We're going to draw the book how we want. The story is going to be what it is, and it's going to survive or fail based on that and that alone. So when I see Russ Leach, I am not super familiar with his work in the past. I'm not opposed to studying that. In fact, in retrospect, I probably should have looked him up a little bit more, but I did. I was clearly convinced by his talent, his experience in the comic book world, because he's a comic book black belt, clearly. We all know that. And in a Brit, and I think that this, it's not Maxim. It's, I can't remember the name of the print place. They did this book. They also did... They also did the Lost Pages, and I really like the way these books. I really like the way that these books look. I understand for some people, there may have been some interruptions in drop shipping or something like that, but as far as the print quality goes, I really dig this. I really like this. Okay, and it looks like I've already got something on the cover. So nice. Good going, Dave. All right. This is an interesting concept. We're talking about the uh, the the creature who is responsible for killing everybody and flipping it on its head. I love that. And where are you going to go with that? This tier, whichever one I got, came with a sticker. We've got cards of the other incarnations. And one of the other reasons why I picked up on this is because it reminded me very much of, and I didn't read all of them. I only read On a Pale Horse by, I believe it was Poul Anderson, but I could be wrong. But it was a story about a character who I actually named my son after, who, after failing to become rich through the means of magic, decides to kill himself, and Death happens to walk through the door a little bit early, so the main character pulls the gun on Death, shoots Death, and now has to take Death's job. There are more incarnations to that book. There's Fate, War, whatever, but we have Death, War, there's a Pestilence, and if she's not labeled here, and I'm not going to remember it, don't worry about it. That's just my old brain not doing what it's supposed to. And then one of the main characters. Now, Russ was talking about doing a version of a comic book that is a little bit more retro, like 70s, and he really pulled it off, because the way these colors work and the way these panel layouts are. I'm not going to say unexciting, because that's not the point. Is that they are more rigid. We don't see any frame breaking. We don't see a whole lot of crooked panels. Somebody tell me that this doesn't look like Katie Seagal, especially the Sons of Anarchy version of her. Something else that I was paying attention to, getting this look right here from one panel to the next is easy, or easier. Now, this is something that I'm going to have to really buckle down on, because even in the face, never mind that you see her in a white t-shirt and blue jeans or black pleather or whatever that is, with her cord around her neck, with that ID card around her neck. Her face is unmistakably the same, no matter the size, no matter the position, and that is a black belt maneuver, in my estimation. The colors are flat, but they're not unexciting, because we have this. Something that I was mentioning in the previous book, we have these neutral colors against these bright colors and against these bright colors here. And then in the whole time I'm reading this and studying it and thinking about, everything that I have to do, and a lot of times it can become intimidating. I'm like, man, I'm going to have to pay attention to 15 different points of this craft that I'm only getting into for the first time ever, and this is, again, who I am, air quotes, competing with. The character design is I like the way I like the way that Death looks. Okay, he seems a little bit mechanical to me, but then, when you do custom paint on motorcycles, you're doing a lot of realistic skulls and things like that, and they're not an armored. They're not an armored version of it, unless, oh man, I'll tell you what, they're not an armored version of it unless you are desperate to do something different than you did on the last bike, because a lot of times you'll have people coming up to you and saying, I want to do something really different on my bike than everybody else has, and you're like, okay, what? And they're like, I want a Grim Reaper. And I'm like, well, I hate to break the news to you, but you're just like the last guy that came through here. Now, one thing that I absolutely loved about this, all the pieces of character design in this entire thing, this cat right here, evil scientist dude, I don't know if Russ borrowed from Half-Life or what, but this is awesome right now, but it's even more awesome when I don't want to give anything away, but I don't want to give anything. It's one of my favorite scenes in this whole book. Where is it? There. I don't want to show the whole thing. Yeah. Okay. But I'll tell you what. I'll criticize this one thing right here. This panel, this sequence right here, where our mad scientist victim needs a bigger body to deal with, and then jumps on this dude, and now replaces the old head with this new head. If he's trying to keep it PG, I get it. But whatever is happening here that's out of our sight, I kind of wanted to see, because it's just this really cool, unique way of plugging this head onto another body, and then you'll see it, later, doing his thing, doing his bidding, and I'm waiting for somebody to come along and knock this replacement head off of this body. This, honestly, of all the ideas of this book, this right here is my very most favorite one. I love original ideas, or at least to the extent that an old idea can be, what is the saying? There's no such thing as an original idea, just an undiscovered way of plagiarizing someone else. And this is it right there. Because, the idea being there's no original ideas. There is a nice aspect to the writing here, where Death has a sense of humor. I mean, there's a lot of human to him in the beginning here, because we can, and at least I can. Let me get to it here. Where Death is doing his job. I know I showed this page before. Here, and here. It's just for all eternity. Have you ever felt like this at work? And this is what I do. This is his job. Next. The writer is giving a lot of humanity to Death right here, and really gives us a good way of being able to connect with him as a character. Humans to a character who is supposed to be taking all of our souls and going away. It took me a while, not because it's a big book, and it is. It's a big book. It took me a while to get through this, because my life is actually that busy, where I had to, left it upstairs so that I could, get back to it and read 2 pages and read 3 pages before I did something else. But there's a nice, cool character gallery. My favorite right here, my favorite concept. I'm not going to give away what happens to Chrissy, but there's a nice description of what's supposed to happen here. There's a lot of this Celtic tribal / Celtic knotwork happening here. That is, and I'm sorry, Russ, I've got to say it. This design here is not adhering to the over under, never repeating over twice or under twice, the rules of Celtic knotwork, but it still looks cool. But I mean, if I was going to get super technical and be like, well, let me pull my art history class card out and tell you what I think, that would be it. The knotwork looks really good, but for those of us who know what knotwork is, we're not supposed to have any over repetitions and under repetitions. But these are good. I like the Klingon shoes. That reminds me the Klingon shoes that are also Dean Simmons shoes or whatever. and he's got some good fan art in here, and beyond his own, beyond Russ's own um, work. He's got room for, and this is another aspect I'm excited for. If I can get enough, if I can get enough interest in the book that Julius and myself are writing and producing, then and I can get some fan art in there, I would love to see it. But this is a nice package. This is not something that you can just walk into the comic store and get, and that's what I love about these things. So it's like I love this book for what it is, and I also love it for what it's going to be. This is a professional who's been in the industry for a while, and I love this book for what it is, and I love this book for what it is without any entanglements from working for a comic book company. There is, if you've, I don't know if we've got one. Tim Quinn did a really good job as an editor. I have no idea how what that's like, pulling the reins in on your creative team, and whether they agree with you or not. Are you just giving suggestions? Are you telling them, if you don't change this, I quit, or anything like that? But it's one of the differences between these two properties is this is David Germain, Nick Unlisted, and Jeff Mikado, and they are the four of them agreeing on what's happening. And here we have the benefit of an editor, which I think the best way that I can think of it is the editor is saving you from yourself, where you need an objective opinion so somebody can tell you what should stay, what should go. And when I say saving you from yourself is where this idea that I want to put in this book, I love so much, it needs to be in there, but it doesn't help anybody with the story. It's just a cool idea mostly to you, which means it may or may not be a cool idea to everybody else, and why risk it? So yank it and save it, and maybe use it as it's a refined concept in a later issue, and maybe we can work it in somewhere where it makes better sense. I believe that this book really does benefit from that, and that this book, I just like how raw it is. I like seeing what the beginning of something is going to look like, and being able to see what the potential is. Now, this is a guy who's been in the industry for a while, and it shows. And this is a team of people who are hungry to put out a good book, and it shows. For all the things that it might be lacking because it's not as refined as this, I'm excited to see these guys get to this level, if that makes any sense at all. So that's my review on these guys. Immortal Death. That's my review, and take it for what it's worth. I hope I was fair. I believe that in both cases this was money well spent, and yeah, I mean, if you like this review, hit the like button. Nicely. I'm like I say in all my other videos, be nice to the like button. You don't have to go hitting it. You don't have to smash it. You don't have to Jimmy Superfly snooker the like button. Subscribe if you feel like it. Don't subscribe if you don't. And I'm gonna call it. And hopefully we'll get into another one. If I've got time to read these other things, I'll just give you a small list right now. I've got Magna the Last Pantheon, which I can't wait to get into because I love the way that character looks in ways that I can't explain to anybody. But anyways, Johnny Phantasm, which, man, Johnny Phantasm looks like I had a good day at Chuck E. Cheese when you get it. That's what Johnny Phantasm does. Dragon Rage, are you kidding me? David Finch art on the cover. This Don Shin came on the channel a little while ago, and I grabbed this. I am so looking forward to this because it's doing. I like it's nice and mature when people can like make fun of the industry that they're in, and who knows more about that than the people that are in it. And then Monster MD, and I'm waiting on because I'm not very good at reading the details of any given campaign. I'm waiting for Doc Salem to come in so that I can talk about this and this. So that's it. There, I snapped my fingers. That makes it official. I will talk to you guys soon as I go across the room to click the end button on this video.